Hello, sport fans. Let's get the coding done. So I recalled there's an extra step. So we are going to use a command, but we're not going to execute the command. Um, and we'll use this in the future. Execute non-query. We're not going to use execute non-query for our command. That's when you use insert, update, or delete. But when we're doing a select statement, um, we put the command inside a data adapter. So this data adapter is, do you ever see these hardware tools? You get a handle, like a screwdriver handle, but you could put in a screwdriver flathead, you could put in a screwdriver Phillips head, the diamond head, you could put in some type of nut thing to tighten up bolts or whatever, but you could put different implements inside the the tool handle. Just like on a tractor, you can put different implements depending on what your job is. So the command is the implement and the data adapter is the tractor, or the command is the tool and the data adapter is the handle that holds the tool, allows you to put in your hand and do some work. So we're going to use the command inside a data adapter, and you have to use this using, end using, so that's a little bit different. But we're going to use a data adapter just like before, actually. So peek in there, we use the data adapter, so it's pretty much similar. Um, so by the way, we're going to create all this code, and I do want it to run when the web page starts. So I already copied this name of the general procedure into the init because that's when I want it to run. But again, the code goes in a try-catch block. I'm going to live on the edge here and see if we really need that line of code. I'm pretty sure the data adapter opens the connection for you, but we're going to put the command inside a data adapter. You have to use this using, and we're going to have 6 data adapters. So I just called the DA1, and we're going to load 6 data tables. So I added those. Encourage you to do the same. But I don't know if I would normally do this. GDT global data table. So again, you get the data, and the data adapter runs the command, in this case fetches data, and we're going to use that to fill the data table. So like I showed in the prior video with the image, Visio image, the data adapter says, hey, why don't you go run my command? And the command says, hey, why don't you run my store procedure? And the store procedure says, hey, why don't you run my SQL select statement? All right, I'm going to return a data set. And the command says, okay, thanks for that data set. And I'm going to fill that data set into the web page array called the data table. Of course, this is one of the essay questions on your test. How does it all work? So the data adapter runs the command and fills in web page array. So the web page array has a copy of the data table that was retrieved from the database. The web page does not have the original database table, so you can't damage it or anything, but we're just going to screenshot and capture and go get a copy of that table and stick it in my web page. And how do you put your data inside a web page? Inside an array. And Microsoft calls these arrays data tables. So data adapter, run the command and go fill the data table. We're going to do this 6 times, so I have 6 data tables. Again, I don't know if I do that. I'm going to have 6 data adapters, but this is pretty repetitive code. But so you fill the data table, which is an array, and then you tell your grid view. So we're going to need 6 grid views. I tested this out and I made a new one. a new grid view called customer products. Maybe I'll name the grid views a little specific. But the grid view data source, hey, go display that data that we retrieved from the stored procedure and stuck into our array, global data table analysis 1. Go ahead and display that in the grid view. And this displaying in a grid view, as we've shown before, is a two-step process. First, you set the data source. Hey, grid view, go display the data in this array. And then, hey, grid view, data bind, which means go ahead and connect. Actually, go ahead and do that. And if I'm right, we did the same thing in the prior video, or a prior video. Grid view data source equals whatever, the global data table, and then the grid view. Go ahead and bind it, glue it, connect. Go ahead and connect it, and that's, I don't know, that's a two-step process. So I would say the hardest thing about this code is that you have all these words that sound the same. A data table is an in-memory array. A grid view is a control on a form. Some of the other words just start sounding the same. A SQL command sounds just like a SQL command inside a stored procedure, or it sounds like a SQL statement, or that a SQL statement is a command, but we're going to have to be very specific about the words we use, and that's half the battle. The code turns out to be easy and repetitive, but again, so, and I'm going to rip this. I am feeling pretty confident these days. So, so again, we have a try-catch block to run the code. We have a command that says run our stored procedure. The command, however, needs to be put inside the command is the implementer that needs to be run by the tool, the handle for the screwdriver, for example. So we need a data adapter to run the command. Data adapter runs the command, gets a data set in response, and puts it in the data table. The data table is then displayed in the grid view, and let's go ahead and run it. By the way, a lot of our code is on this init procedure. So if you have a web page and refresh your web page, it's not going to run this event, initialization event. So I encourage you to create a new web page each time. View in browser, right-click View in browser, rather than just hit the refresh up here when you're using data that's in the init procedure. So there's our new data. So this is customers, what customers bought, what product. Not sure how these are ordered by customer and then product. Okay, but again, this is a condensing of all the line item data. So for example, this customer 1002 really likes blue socks. They bought them 7 times. They like blue socks and they like crimson shirts. So this is an analysis of what customers bought what products, and actually what did they buy a lot of. So let's implement the other 5. But you see it works. Probably we should have some labels here, or just some, what was that? So some headings. So what customer is buying what product. So you probably want to have something a little more interesting than that, but there you go. And then again, we could format font. I don't really want the grid view changing format, but what can you do? Format font. So it's a Microsoft product, and I like Arial. we go. Maybe I like it, maybe I don't. But we're going to need 6 more of these. And yeah, this is a weird design, and we'll do better with the design. But I am going to drag over 6 more grid views. Again, the grid views are down in here in the data section. So I'm going to add 6, and I'll show you in a second. Okay, so I loaded up 6 new grid views. And I gave them all names. And now, of course, it's going to be easy to mix things up. So I'll show you my trick. By the way, I found that you can hit Home, Shift End, or just Shift End or Shift Home, and then you could do your format font if you want to change the font. But I had a pretty good idea. So we're going to have 6 data adapters that run 6 different commands, and those commands are going to run 6 different stored procedures that load data into 6 different global data tables, ASP.NET data tables, and 6 different grid views. So I tried to name the grid views pretty similar to the stored procedures. Now, where did you get these stored procedures, Featherman? One of the assignments in 372 said make 3 reports, so of course I made 6 with some ideas to make more. But I think it's a pretty smart idea to have documentation because 90% of your problems in this module are going to be typos. I would not use copy and paste and edit because you're going to have typos. And so I really recommend making a reference document, which data adapter is running which SQL command, filling which grid view, which is displaying filling the data table of which it's displayed by the grid view, connecting that back to the SQL store procedure. We'll put that in another video explaining the store procedures. But then I put in a purpose of all these store procedures. And your reports are probably going to be different, but that's fine. And just lining up 6 tables in here, it isn't really that nice of an interface. Haven't really thought about that yet. But I guess I encourage you to keep track of what command is running what stored procedure, filling what data table, displayed in what grid view. Later on, this is going to come pretty handy. So just a word about my reports. SP, so I think all these start with FA25. They're all new for this semester. Generate customer product analytics, so see the line items grouped by customer and product, what customers are buying what products. Frequent flyer, so that's an idea I had last night. So that's just this same query, that same stored procedure with a having clause. And you could read the rest of those. Well, we got a lot of copying and pasting to do, but they're all the same pattern. There's a command, and there's the name of the stored procedure. And here's the data adapter, fill in the data table, and fill in the grid view. So we have to put the right stored procedure name in the right place. Don't forget, you can see your list of stored procedures over here and look for typos. Well, here we go. First report, second report, third report, fourth report. I'll explain them all in the next video. Bye.